Awesome. Cool. Thanks for joining the call this evening. Not a lot to go over. We are still in that weird little period between kind of getting ramped up and then getting the season started. You heard some of us talking about how cold it is. It's very cold here in Western North Carolina. Uh, our team activities will be very hit or miss until probably mid to late January. But it's encouraging. So the league stats that we've got as of today, we've got 53 teams. Looks like we're going to stabilize at 53 teams for this season. We've got 367 licensed coaches. We're up from last time. So we've got 95 female coaches. That's up 23 over the last time that we talked. And we've got 272 male, and that's adding 93 since last time we talked. We've got 597 registered student athletes, which is 245 more than we had the last time. And Shell has been tracking this, and we are ahead of where we are at usually with student athlete registration at this time. So we're doing great. Brian, I know you've got a little prediction. So what's the bar that we're going to hit this year, you think?
I'm sorry, I heard you said we're doing great, and then you said Brian. So thank you. Appreciate that.
What's the student athlete number that you say we're going to hit this year?
So we should do like maybe in going into the next coaches call, Sean, because we'll do maybe one more before Christmas. We'll do like a Price is Right. We'll have everyone kind of give their prediction and then see who gets closest without going over. Right. And I know you'll be the guy that bets $1, I know it. I just have that in my mind, but I mean, we ought to do that anyway. We are on pace to hit 1,000 athletes by the time.
All right.
Based on last year's progression of registration, we're on track to do that.
And that will be the first time we've kind of broken out of where we've been at, which has been kind of similar numbers for about 2 or 3 seasons. So it looks like we're on track for some growth this year, which is going to be great. And then another metric. So Jeff LeBlanc says 999. So it's already started. But another metric that we're going to start tracking is going to be Teen Trail Core hours. And right now we are at 647.5 Teen Trail Core hours. The top 3 teams, Stanley Shredders, Onslow County Composite, and then Caldwell County Composite are kind of really logging some hours, but there's still plenty of season left. And we've upped our goal for this season. So Shell, what's our new Teen Trail Core goal for the league?
3,000 hours.
3,000 hours. And why did you pull that number as the goal that we should have?
Well, we logged just over 1,900 hours last season, and we're hoping to introduce a new idea of Trail Week this year in North Carolina, and our goal is to log 1,000 hours across the state during that week in March. So we're hoping that we do just as well as last season and tack on an extra 1,000 hours with that initiative and hit 3,000 or better. So.
Excellent. So 3,000 hours, which will be a huge impact that we're having. And I know Cognitive MTB is a supporter of Teen Trail Core, and I think that's going to blow them away, like us being able to marshal that number. So I think that's a great way to kind of show what their support is able to allow us to do, which is going to be really incredible. And thanks to all those teams that are getting out there and getting their student athletes out there to do some trail work. That's much appreciated. All right. We're going to go into a couple of things that Brian is going to kind of talk about a little bit. And the first one that has kind of come up, and it's an explanation and a clarification of the event fees for this season. So Brian, I'm going to turn the floor over to you so that you can kind of take this one.
There's danger here because I need to back up just for a minute and kind of lead us into the event fee discussion. If you could, Sean, January 21st, student athlete regular registration ends.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I haven't published this anywhere, and I just thought of it, but I'm comfortable if you want to put it on the sheet here, Sean, for everyone to see it. But
Okay.
January 19th will be the deadline for initial category changes. So that, if everyone recalls, that deadline of January 21st, we close regular registration and we get athletes their personalized plate in the proper category. So if you've got a category petition change between now and 19 January, that athlete can get his or her name on the right categorized race plate. I'm mentioning category placements because I have yet to see a category petition. That might be because we have new categories and everyone is a bit shell-shocked. Or just like Sean said, it's still a little early. Coaches really haven't dug into their rosters and evaluated athletes and the like, but that gives us about a little less than 2 months to receive, consider, and approve or disapprove any category petition. So I just want to mention that tonight, that, hey, it is time to start looking at your athletes. And if you think you need to change a category for one of them, let's get that petition in so we can consider that. Okay, so break there. Two things with registration that are different this season. One is I am opening a late registration period for the season. I want to try that this season. So that late registration period will go from the day after 21 January to, I think, 23 February, to make sure we've got time before Browns Creek to kind of catch people and the like. It's going to be $10 extra, but I know it's coming anyway. I dealt with probably 5 to 6 late registrations because an earth-stopping cataclysmic event hit that particular family the day registration closed, and they said, I just missed it, and can you get me in? Okay, that's fine. We'll get you in. For the coaches on the line, if it comes late in February, we may be having a conversation with you to make sure that athlete is ready for the next race, or we might ask you to delay based on your feedback, if that makes sense to everyone. So there will be a late registration period to catch the folks. Hey, you're in the midst of your season, you meet them in town. Hey, can you get signed up? We know that happens. So I'll try it this season, give a late registration window and see how that goes. Just be patient with us. Next.
Can I pause you there for a second?
Yep.
Whoever just highlighted everything on this document, would you please not do that? Because if you hit delete, it's going to all disappear.
Wasn't me.
Thank you.
Yep. But if
I was having a mild heart attack.
If it was deleted, this is the face I would have. If just I would feel bad for Sean having to recreate all of that. And let me just talk about the event registration. As a reminder, if anyone has any questions, I tried to be as clear as possible on the website for our new scheme. You can register by event throughout the season. No change there. Go into Pit Zone, log into your one thing, sign up for your one event. No change. There is a discount option. In order to qualify for that discount option, you have to select all 6 eligible events. When you do that in Pit Zone, it applies the discount. So it's only $140 to sign up for all 6. I've already had to tell one person that we are not refunding event registrations this season. That gentleman mistakenly signed up for all those events and only wanted to sign up for one event for his student athlete for whatever reason. And I said, I'm very sorry. Here's the language on the website. Here's the language in Pit Zone. Here's the language in the FAQ. We are not going to refund event registrations this season. So take your time. You don't have to sign up. It is open now. We're giving folks that opportunity. And I think the last time I checked, we had 20 people that have already signed up for that discount package. So all good. Now, the point Sean was leading us towards here is the fact that it is an event registration for that weekend, largely focused on the race. But as we consider as a league more activities during the weekend for your student athletes to participate in, it could be something like an adventure ride, which we want a race plate on that athlete's bike to participate in this league event, whatever it is. So you are signing up for the activities for that weekend. No change to GRIT. GRIT will be a separate registration for those weekend events, no charge to those, but you're signing up and you're paying for an entire weekend with that event fee. And yes, your student athlete will automatically be registered for the race. Whether or not he or she shows up in the staging area, doesn't matter. He or she will be on a call-up sheet. And if they make a last-minute decision to get in the race, boom, we've got them lined up and we can slot them right in. So I'll pause there because that was a lot, but that is what we're doing with registration for this season.
Hey, Brian.
I believe that's
Mm.
Ryan because your
It-
box was highlighted in green.
It is Ryan to know.
There you go. All
I was
right.
wondering, do you want coaches to, I mean, how are we gonna, I mean, we hopefully shouldn't have to do this, but how are we going to enforce this? Right? Because someone could just show up and start riding with their team without being registered for that weekend. Right?
Yep, it could be. I don't know if I'll have the enforcement police out all weekend for that, Ryan. That's a good question.
Well, and I guess what I'm asking, do you want head coach or coaches to sort of try to monitor and at least head that off at the pass? I don't know.
I certainly think so. I think our check is certainly in those things we established. We did it a little bit with the adventure area last season, had to have a plate to come on in. We do something like adventure ride, going to have to check in, check out, and we can confirm there. But for other things, I'm not sure we've thought that through entirely, to be quite honest with you.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, Brian, it's Ben Harbor.
Yep.
There was some discussion early about a potential teams select 4 races or only go to 4 races out of the 6. Has that been solidified yet or discussed or dropped or status?
Not a what would you say? Not a registration option. And just to make sure I'm hearing you correctly, there was some discussion early about like a bye week model.
Yeah.
Where we're not doing that this season.
Okay.
Not doing that at all. What is kind of, to say it as clear as I can, is that discount package. You sign up for all 6, you are essentially paying for only 4. That's the discount. So you're getting 6 events for the price of 4. Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but no
David.
no bye weeks.
David Larkins has his hand up, and Jeff LeBlanc is right behind him.
Yeah, so I have a question about the event fee applies to all participants at the event. How does a student athlete pay that event fee without actually registering for the race?
They're one and the same, David. It's realistically, it's registering for the event, and the race is included in that.
Are we
it's
concerned
just-
at all that we're going to have, a handful of student athletes that are getting seated and getting, the start team and the timing team is looking at them as race participants when they're in fact not participating? Are we at all concerned about that? Or are we just assuming that it's going to be a small enough number that it doesn't actually really make much difference?
I don't know about a small enough number. That's a fair statement there, but it is easier from my perspective to go in planning for everyone to show up in the staging area and just reduce in stride, because it happens every race.
Okay.
The no-shows, and we slot them right in. We just keep pushing them in, and I'd rather give that option. And I don't know how we encourage more race participation. Again, the stats are 900 athletes registered last year. Only about 500 ever showed up, to race. Maybe just saying it's super easy. You can make the decision Sunday morning. And hey,
Right.
I'm ready to go. And hey, I don't have to worry. And you don't have to come talk to me or anyone in staging. But hey, can you slot, Susie in? It's already done. We've already figured it.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for the question.
And Jeff, you had your hand up.
Yeah, mine was the same. So I guess you answered it about non-racing students and the event fees. So that kind of answered it all. If you've got students who don't want to race this season but want to attend all of the events, they're still registering in the pit zone, paying the fees and all that stuff. They just don't show up in the staging area, or they don't get staged to race, and that's pretty much it. Is that correct?
That's pretty fair, Jeff. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Ryan?
Sorry, thanks, guys. I should have raised my hand in the first place, I guess. Another question here, and that's that these 6, I've forgotten, but these 6 events are the race weekends. What about that final adventure weekend? Is that part of this or not? And then the championship race, not everyone goes. So what are we talking about for the 6?
We are talking the 5 regular season race weekends, and then the end of season festival, not
Okay.
the championship, because that's a qualifier, which, as you know, because you're on the race committee, we haven't published the qualifying criteria quite yet, but we'll open registration for that probably after that 5th race, once we know who's coming, so to speak. So it's not an option to register for right now anyway. The only 6 open events in pit zone are the 5 regular and the end of season.
Makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Ooh, thanks. I'll take
All
it.
right.
And I'm gonna
Abby,
hang up,
before-
it might not get better before Abby asks her question. No,
Abby,
go ahead.
before you, that we've got one on the chat that I want to bring up. Matthew Bush talked about never had a student come on Saturday without racing on Sunday. But we have had teams that have done that. I've had that experience on my own team of getting kids to come on Saturday just to do the pre-ride and things like that, with the races that are local to us. So it's not the big drive to Browns Creek or something like that, but they would, have that option if they came. And we've seen that before where the kids come and they're like, oh, I actually do want to race. Like, I could do this. So are we saying a student athlete has to pay for the weekend if they just want to do the pre-ride? That is exactly what's being said, Ben. So, all right, Abby, your question?
That was just answered.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Other questions about this idea of to participate at the event fee for Saturday and Sunday, or Saturday or Sunday, that requires that fee to be paid? All right. We'll briefly go to a loaner bike update. I've got half the loaner bike fleet, which is at the shop ready for pickup tomorrow, and I will be taking the other half. I've reached out to coaches that have student athletes that have put in for loaner bikes. We've had more applications for bikes than we have sizes. So right now, there's pretty much nothing left but extra smalls, and there's only 2 extra smalls. So keep that in mind as you are talking to people about loaner bikes. There's just not a lot there. We're trying to work with another entity to see about something that we can do, but we're not at a point to where we can say that definitively we can handle more loaner bikes than what we've currently got right now. So those are the things that we're looking at. One of the things is we saw this year a lot of loaner bike applications for people that had actually paid all of their registration fees. And so one thing that can be done is, rather than them getting a loaner bike, them applying for the scholarship for the registration fees and be able to use that money towards purchasing a bike. So there's some ways that we can work around that. All right. And then another thing that I'm going to hand off to Brian is this league coaching policy update. So Brian, take it away.
Yeah, Sean, and if you could throw the link to that policy in the chat that people can pull that up and look at, or cut and paste it into the agenda, is fine. So there was a lot of back and forth through the preseason about 2 things: whether or not a head coach had to be present at a team practice or a league event, and some kind of, call it, verbal policy in the league about, hey, you can appoint a second head coach, and well, what's the qualifications of that person, and what does it need to be? And that was one discussion with a lot of teams going on. There was a second discussion about this idea of a combined practice, which as a league, we've always encouraged teams coming together, pool coaching resources. It makes a lot of sense to maintain ratios and mix some ability groups, but kind of a NICA policy gap in terms of, okay, it's 2 teams coming together. What's the real requirement to have head coaches? And we've always viewed that as a league as well. It's just 2 teams coming together. And if the NICA policy says a head coach has to be at the team event, then a head coach has to be at the combined practice for both teams. So this new coaching policy, which I've shared with the NICA president and the head of coaching at NICA, and both have given it essentially a thumbs up, clarifies what we mean. Like, hey, let's just write it down. We heard a lot through that. I was like, well, I've never heard that, or where is that written down? Where is the policy? And I describe both elements of the policy just generally this. Head coach is required to be at team practices and at league events. It's pretty clear in the policy. That's a requirement. We are letting you appoint an interim head coach. If you can't make it, if the head coach can't be there, then yeah, appoint a replacement. But that replacement has to be a level 3, and that replacement has to know what the head coach responsibilities are. And those are listed pretty clearly in the head coach job description. It is about incident management. It is about communication. It is about knowing the athletes. It is knowledge of the EAP. It is not something you can hand to your brand new level 2 and really conduct an activity appropriately. If you are in a bind, because this is always the case with young teams, there is a progression of years to get up to level 3, or as happened just 2 weekends ago with Lake Norman, lost both their team director and their head coach, and their replacements are both level 2s, contact me, contact Sean, and we will work you through how to mitigate your situation. But for most of our teams with multiple level 3s, this should not be an issue. Same with the combined team practices. If you're coming together, great. Head coaches have got to be there. If the primary head coach can't be there, appoint one of your interims per the policy I just walked you through. If it's got to be a level 2 and that's all you've got, look at this policy and see where you have to enable that primary head coach with all the information for your student athletes who aren't showing up with their head coach, so he or she can handle that practice appropriately, and you have to document when that happens. Incidents, should they occur, and we never want them to, but should they occur and things really go bad, meaning a student athlete gets hurt, injured, and the parents sue, the issue is not going to be anyone making maybe a not super appropriate decision about what led to that incident. It's not following policy. And that's what's going to get us in trouble. And that's why we're clarifying and writing down, so we don't have to have the discussion of like, I never heard that, or where is that written down, or what do I do? Here you go. Here's some policy for how we handle appropriately the safety and progression of our student athletes. So I will pause there as folks read through that, answer any questions, and certainly happy to have any one-on-one follow-ups with head coaches after the meeting.
I've got a question.
Yeah, Abby, shoot.
What about grit? I have kids signing up and going to grit events, and I don't even have level 2 coaches necessarily going.
Yeah, reference the link in the policy in there about how we handle grit events. We risk mitigate and handle that as the league up there. Yeah, it is different because, yeah, you have that small team, one female, head coach can't make it. We're not going to tell her you can't go to the grit event. We take care of that with our league staff, essentially, for the 2 times a year we do it type of thing. Ryan with the hand on fire tonight. Except if it's your mute button. Ryan, you got a question? Because your hand is in the air like you just don't care.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go. Gotcha.
Okay. How do we designate this second head coach? I saw something in an email about it. I went to the pit zone. I didn't see anything obvious. Am I missing something?
Sean?
Yeah. So when you go to the pit zone, whoever you want to designate as your second head coach, you are going to click on their name. And this has to be done by someone with team director, head coach capabilities. You'll click on their name. You'll click on team roles, and then they'll give you an edit button, and you can edit their team role, and you can designate them as a head coach as well. You want to just have a second head coach. You don't want to, like, I've seen teams and they go in, like, all of a sudden they've got 4 head coaches. That's not what we're asking you to do, and that's not helpful, because then it's sort of like nobody has any responsibility. But go in and just say, this person is going to be kind of my backup, then you can designate them. If it's something like an emergency, like there's a race comes up, something comes up with you as the head coach, something comes up with your designated secondary head coach, undesignate your secondary head coach and designate a third person who is going to be there for the race, just so that we have that on record. And then we can kind of go from there. Being a head coach gives a coach a different set of access to pit zone and allows them to see some things that no one else can. So that's why we're kind of wanting this to be a more formal thing. You'll get a warning that says that more than one person has been designated a head coach. Ignore that as long as you just have two. And that will also add that person into the iterable list of head coaches. And that way they'll start getting those head coach communications as well.
Can I circle back to Abby's question about head coaches and grit?
Yes.
Because it actually helps clarify another very common question that we get. The way that we mitigate risk on the league end of things for grit events that are standalone events is also the reason that we don't accept one-time waivers for participation in league level events, because we as the league staff are collecting all of the emergency information and medical information for the student athletes attending. If we accepted waivers, we wouldn't be able to do that. So that for folks that ask that question every year is one of the reasons we don't accept waivers, is because at league level events for grit, we don't have the head coach. So we wouldn't have any information on those student athletes.
All right. Other questions or points that need to be clarified on that new policy? Awesome. And I will put that link in the document as well so that you can refer back to it. Remember that you have access to all of these documents in the folder for coach communications. And then
And I'll have it I'll have it on the website in the morning and coaches resources too, Sean. If you
oh,
want
awesome.
to- Yeah, I'll put it on there.
Perfect. All right. And then sort of the last topic for this evening, we are going to have our final pre/early season adventure event this weekend at Browns Creek. And one thing that came up, and I think it's important for us to talk about, is the adventure passport and continuing this sense of adventure all season long. So we kind of discovered that there were some teams that thought that the adventure passport only applied to whatever they could do at the adventure event. And that is not at all the case. So Shell, I'm going to turn it over to you so you can maybe give a little bit more explanation of that adventure passport, and also let people know how they're going to be distributed for those people that have not been to an adventure event.
Sure. So our adventure committee did a really awesome job helping come up with activities in that passport that teams can use throughout the entire season. So a lot of that passport was built around helping teams do some team building, getting to know each other better, but also creating opportunities to bring everyone on your team together to boost the confidence of all of the riders on your team, whether it's giving them an opportunity to be the leaders, giving them more opportunities to participate in ways that they are comfortable if they're newer riders, to build up that confidence, and also hopefully give them a reason to come to league events with something they've already accomplished, so they can get all of those activities stamped throughout the entire season. The hope being that as a team, you're able to help them stamp some of those activities during your practices throughout the year, whether that's an adventure ride or just a mechanical clinic you do as a team. So definitely take a look. There's a digital version of it in the coach resources folder for adventure coaches. Lots of stuff in there, really good activities of all different kinds. So definitely take a look and think about how you can incorporate those into your practices. There are printed versions of the passport that are going to every student athlete in the league. If your student athlete has attended a preseason event, they already got their passport. And then after the Browns Creek event, we're going to start distributing the remaining passports to teams in January when we get closer to student athlete registration deadline, so we know how many each team is going to need. So we'll work on getting those to all the teams in the state for the remaining student athletes so that your entire team can work on those. But Also, you can utilize that digital copy. If your team does complete some of the activities, you'll sign the page once they get their passport, if you've already completed the activities. And then once you've signed their passport activity, they can bring it to the adventure area at any league event and get the pages stamped. If they stamp all of the pages in their passport this season, they'll get a custom adventure season water bottle as a prize. So have them get it stamped. Like I said, it can be a really good way to get some of your newer student athletes to get involved in league events by letting them show up with something that they've already accomplished and we're going to recognize them for. So yeah, hopefully something fun for your team to do through the whole season.
And Abby, did that answer your question that you put up in the chat? Yeah. So they're really cool little books. They're pocket size so that you can slip them in your pocket while you're riding. And it was fun on the first adventure event, like going out with the team. And what we did was we just sort of looked through the booklet and kind of said, okay, like, what do you guys want to do? And there were a couple of things that they wanted to do for the adventure event, and we went and ticked them off. So it was very cool. They had a good time with it. I think I want to circle back a little bit because there was a great question about coaching requirements for new teams. And so I want to highlight that because I think that got lost in our discussion of this coaching policy. But before I do that, I kind of want to see if anybody has any more questions about adventure, the passports, or anything like that. All right.
I have one. Please tell me you are wearing an avocado suit because I did not get a picture of that.
That's the adventure avocado. That will be at every adventure event.
Okay, good. I will be ready this time.
Yeah, I will ride in it. So all right. So there was a question. Can I ask about the existence of the R word at this weekend's adventure event? So you may ask, and then you will bear all blame for any R that may show up on Saturday. So think carefully about whether or not you want to do that. What we are saying is that if you are coming, there is obviously a chance of rain, and we're encouraging you. There's plenty of space. Bring one of your team easy ups so that you've got some space. We can actually set up a pit zone, unlike what we could do at Whitewater Center. For those of you that were at the Whitewater Center, we were in a much more confined space. We do have Browns Creek, so there's a lot of space there for us to enjoy and utilize. So bring your easy ups so that you do have some place to hide out. And there will also be activities going on that if you can't be out on the trail, you can still be doing activities in the adventure area that will be set up as well. And some of those activities are things that you can knock off of that adventure passport. So
including trail work.
Great things. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll just say for Ryan, anyone else that's coming this weekend, just like normal, I'll do a weather call Thursday morning about 11 a.m. with the venue manager, so to speak. I've already got the thumbs up from Cape Fear Sorba. We won't damage the trail based on the rain that's coming. It'll be more a safety concern, but I think it looks supportable this weekend from what I'm seeing. Just like Sean said, we've got some other things we can do there.
Awesome. So to circle back to coach requirements for new teams and just take you through the progression. All of this is laid out in the NICA handbook, but first year, first time teams, all that the head coach has to have is a level 1 because obviously it's a brand new team. Then in season 2, their head coach needs to be level 2. And then by year 3 and beyond, they need to have a level 3 head coach. And this is where we get into trouble when a team has sort of their leadership walk away. And now you've got coaches that don't have the required level that are trying to fill in the gaps. And so succession planning is really important, and encouraging your coaches to do that level 3 training. And one of the advantages of us doing the combined WFA OTBS 101 weekends is that all of those coaches are not just level 2, they're actually well on their way to being level 3 and can easily kind of achieve that level 3 just with doing a leadership summit, which is online from NICA, and some of their volunteer hours. So I think that's where, you know, that's helping you along with your succession planning in the event that you are trying to step away from your team, or for whatever life circumstances you have to step away from your team. There's other people that can kind of step in and fill that role once you have a more mature team at year 3 and beyond. Any questions about that? All right. Are there any other items that anyone would like to bring up that they would like to have addressed this evening?
Can we go back to that event fee clarification?
Mhm.
And I guess my request would be, if we are now saying that all students that show up on a weekend, even those typical in the past students that only want to preview a course, no grit, no adventure, no racing, they're still paying the $35 event weekend fee?
Yes.
Yes.
Can we make that public somewhere so we can share that with coaches and families and everybody else?
Yeah, let me think that through. What, like website? Do I need
Somewhere
to
where
be
we can,
clear about it on the website, or?
yeah, somewhere where we can point our team members back to. I know for our team over the years, we've had a mix of students that just want to ride with us and learn mountain biking, but don't come on the weekends, but we still encourage it. And now if I'm going to continue to encourage it, now I've got to tell them, but you got to pay $35 just to come ride your bike with a bunch more people. When in the past it was free.
Well, that's, you know, when you put it that way, who would want to pay $35 to come?
Yeah.
But if you say you're coming to a league level event with all of the activities that are available at the league level event, racing is just one of those things.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of, think about all of the things that are going into that weekend event. That $35 is relatively good deal for what student athletes are able to get. And if they get there and they ride and they're like, oh, this course isn't nearly as hard as I thought it was, then they're ready to race on Sunday if they so choose. They're right there in it.
And their names can be put in a call up sheet
Yeah.
because they pay
Yeah.
for it. Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was kind of Dave Larkin's question. And but
Yeah.
yeah, just it's easier to prep for it and just not have them show up than it is to jam them in last minute.
Okay. Are we having adventure events at every race date this year going forward?
I think we'll certainly have adventure activities no less than what we had last season, like adventure area, maybe scavenger hunt. Still some work to be done, you know, this, Ben, on
Yeah.
those venues where we can do some riding in addition to a race course.
Yeah.
Particularly some of our new venues where we have that as an option. But yeah, that's our goal. I mean, it's hard to promise anything right now to everyone, but yeah, we do want to provide more for the folks showing up.
Okay.
I will say too, from like a grit perspective, over the years, I would say at least 50% of our first year student athletes that show up for grit are adamant that they're like, I am never going to race. And
Yeah.
once they show up to weekends and participate, you have to kind of not like fun to not
Yeah.
have fun at a race weekend that you'd be like, yeah, that was worth my $35. Because it is incredibly rare that one of those girls that shows up to grit at the beginning of the season is like, I'm only here because my dad made me come and my brother races. And I'm never going to race. It's very rare that any of them don't race and love it by the end of the season. And it's not because we pressure them. It's just that they have fun. So
Yeah. I fully understand it and seen it as well. It's like hooking the fish. We're just throwing a bait out there for all the stuff going on. But okay.
And so, Bob Zarzecki, I thought we always required a race plate to ride the trails during a race weekend, right? So yes, but what we started doing several seasons ago was just issuing every registered student athlete a plate. And that's why you see now where they're actually able to earn those race plate stickers for different achievements. We're using that kind of as the basis for that, keeping track of all of that for student athletes, regardless of if they race or not. So yeah, we've always said, like, if they were going to be on the trail, everyone who's on trail has to have a race plate or has to have a coach plate. Like, that was the other thing, was adults kind of showing up and going, oh, well, I'm just going to hop on the trail with my kid. And it's like, no, you need to be a coach. So that goes part and parcel with that. And then David is suggesting a split fee for the 2 days. Brian, I don't know if you want to address that now, or if you want to maybe take that up as a email conversation, or how you want to handle that.
I originally suggested it as a maybe consider for next season.
I just,
Oh,
I
okay.
just had to make sure I had the right face on before I address that. But I think there's two issues. I shudder at the pit zone manipulation management of that structure, even though it's doable. And then David, per some of our previous comments, I don't think we're standardized enough to know exactly Saturday and Sunday what it will look like. And you'll probably see a mix of a lot of things this season. An adventure thing on Sunday, even with the race going on. Does that make sense? I don't think we're standard enough to implement that kind of model this season, but thank you for the recommendation for maybe a future season. I understand what you're saying.
And Abby is asking about, at what point will they know where the Fletcher race will be? There's lots of rumors up there. This is private property.
Don't tease. What are the rumors? Let's hear them. We can do the same type of thing with, like, the, like we did with The Price is Right. Like, let's
Really? You want to hear the rumors?
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
I do. This is
Christ School.
okay. That's a good guess, but not.
Okay.
We were out there. I know, and this is folks. Ben, you know this. Folks are following our Strava profiles on the venue survey team.
There should be,
Yeah.
mine should be private. I very hope mine was private.
God, what's the other one?
So Abby, it's a private land opportunity.
Yeah, that's what I told them. And they're like, yeah, Christ School is private. I was like,
So for everyone, I'm hoping this week I'm meeting with the landowner and asking that question. Hey, I need to set up another venue survey. I need to set up a pre-ride day in advance of the race, and I need to let folks know kind of where we're going to be and when are you comfortable with that. So
Can we give a little bit of information about that, Brian, without giving away the land location?
is it a camp?
No. You got one more try, Abby, and you're gonna have to go back to your seat.
give me till Christmas, Abby.
Okay.
But keep the rumors coming, because I love
Yeah.
them.
Well, along with my question, I recall seeing that there is going to be camping available at every race venue. Is that for tent camping, RV camping, or just all? I'm just wondering if I need to be making reservations anywhere, or
It unless someone changes something on me, it's going to be tent and RV at all locations.
okay.
Pretty comfortable saying that, even at this private venue, even at the Whitewater Center to close the season. We're just on the line with them this morning, kind of confirming that. And so, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable saying camping at all our venues, unless, again, lane manager can always come in last minute and go, there's a sinkhole in our road and I need to shut off this whole place for 2 years.
Don't be bringing Dark Mountain into this.
It just wouldn't be a season we didn't talk about Dark Mountain in some form or capacity. And since we're not going there,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ben, I'm sorry. I just came off the Harbor's Christmas list. Oh well. Sad face.
So some of the delays with the Fletcher location is that private landowner is still building trail. And speaking with the trail builder a few weeks ago, he's had a struggle trying to compact the land because of the drought we've had. They need rain to be able to pack in the new trail. So we as a league have not been back up there since we looked at it in the fall. But as Brian said, we hope to have a date sometime early in 2024 to where teams can come out and possibly preview the venue.
So so that's part of that conversation I'm having with land manager. I'd like to get an open date before our weekend so folks can come out and test it out. Let's provide just a little more tease, Ben. Let's get people excited about this this property because Abby's going to send her research team tracking him down and following his car everywhere. Yeah. Ed Sutton is the trail builder. Abby. Fire Mountain, Ridge Line redo, Old Fort. It's a good trail. It's well done.
And he's held to an NDA as well, so he'll keep you at bay too.
Right. Abby, I was going to put a low jack on his truck tonight.
Everybody will be pleasantly surprised.
Track him down.
Get there.
And we may or may not have requested a ridge line type run for a race track.
I'm going to jail.
With Sean's Ring of Fire.
Yes.
Yes. Finally.
Sean, have you stopped
Jumping fire.
Into a lake, perhaps.
I'm going to call from Amanda Carey next week. Russell, what are you doing down there? Get more kids on bikes. They like fire rings, Amanda.
They like fire rings. Who doesn't like to jump a fire?
Yeah.
All right. Excellent.
Well, they got Abby to leave. Good night. What'd you do, Sean?
All right. Any other topics that anyone would like to discuss? That was a good one, Abby. Like, you need to collect all of the rumors and let us know all of the improbable things. Like, I thought it was just going to be shuttle run down hills at Red Rock Creek. That was my guess.
Some people are guessing Sierra Nevada.
That's
Oh,
for adults. That's for adults.
Ooh, coach retreat.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a weird one.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Anything else? Awesome. Well, thank you so much. You all managed to not bully anybody, which is awesome. And I really appreciate it. Thank you for being on the call. And as always, if you have anything that you need clarification on or have any questions or just need any assistance in any way, you can reach out to me, Sean at northcarolinamtb.org. That's SHAWN, or Brian, BRIAN, at northcarolinamtb.org. And if you have a specific question about programs, that would be Shell, CHELLE, at northcarolinamtb.org. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, Sean,
Yes.
you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you. You know what? You also are doing an amazing job, and Brian is doing a really amazing job. More amazinger.
Thanks for getting that on while we're still recording. I appreciate it.